A $1.2 million investment scam? You'd never believe who was behind it. You know, we're all looking for a good investment. Something reliable. Something that will help us build our future. But what happens when the person selling you that future is a wolf in a very convincing sheep's clothing? We're going to talk about a case that sounds like a plot from a movie. A highly respected former NASA scientist, a man with credentials that would make anyone say, wow, this guy knows his stuff, was running a bogus investment scheme. He scammed over 100 people out of a staggering £1 million, which is about $1.2 million. We've all heard stories about a bad stock market day. This is not one of them. It's a critical lesson in why even the most impressive credentials can't be trusted on their own. In this video, we'll get to the bottom of this digital disaster. We'll explore how this super smart guy used his reputation to trick people, how the whole scheme fell apart, and what we can all learn from it. It's a story about a breach of trust, a disaster that could have been easily avoided, and the importance of having a plan B. So, how did this super smart man pull off a super dumb crime? Our main character is a gentleman named John Burford. He was an 85-year-old former NASA scientist with a PhD in physics. A man with a very impressive resume, and he used that resume like a digital weapon. He promoted himself as a highly skilled trader through self-published articles, blogs, and even a book. He was the sole director of a firm, Financial Trading Strategies Limited, which sounds very official, right? He offered trade alerts and investment opportunities in 3 of his own funds. He promised low risk and high returns, and his impressive credentials made people believe him. The problem? He was not authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, to be giving financial advice. And the investments? They were not as good as he said they were. In fact, he was misleading investors about fund performance, concealing losses, and using their money to buy property and support his lavish lifestyle. He was playing a long game, using his reputation to build trust, and then abusing that trust for his own personal gain. He scammed over 100 investors out of £1 million between 2016 and 2021. And the sad part? The victims said it had a significant financial and emotional impact on their lives. So, how did the whole thing fall apart? Well, the FCA, the financial services industry's watchdog, got a whiff of what was happening. They launched an investigation. They found that Mr. Burford had repeatedly misrepresented the value of the funds, and he hid the full extent of the losses he had incurred while trading. The jig was up. He eventually pleaded guilty to 4 offenses, including fraud. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison. The judge in the case described it as a sustained fraud causing much misery to investors. It just goes to show that a smart person can still be a criminal, and a great resume doesn't always equal a good character. The ending for John Burford? Well, he has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for his crimes. What do we learn? Now, this is where we get to the good stuff. The teachable moments. As security experts, we saw this and thought, well, that's a classic case of what happens when you let a fancy title cloud your judgment. The biggest lesson here is not about computer hacking. It's about people hacking people. It's about social engineering, and it's about a fraudster using his credentials to build trust, a very valuable currency in our digital world. The first lesson from this is about due diligence. You can't just take people at their word, even if they have a cool job title from a long time ago. The FCA found that Mr. Burford was not authorized to be giving financial advice. A quick check with the FCA could have uncovered this. So, if someone is trying to sell you an investment or asking you for your money, always check to make sure they are a legitimate and authorized professional. It's a simple step that can save you a world of trouble. The second lesson is about skepticism. The victims in this case were told about low risk, high return investments. That should be a red flag for anyone. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. The attackers played on the victims' greed and their trust. They made them feel like they were getting a great deal. They used a combination of these emotional tools to get what they wanted. This is what we call a human vulnerability. The third lesson is about having a safety net. The FCA is now trying to get confiscation orders to get the money back to the victims. But this is a long and difficult process, and there is no guarantee that they will get all of their money back. This is where a proactive approach to security is crucial. You have to be your own security guard. You have to have a system in place to check for scams and fraud, and to not rely on a third party to do it for you. This is especially true for any digital transaction. The final lesson is that these kinds of scams are not just about finance. They can happen in any digital transaction. They can be about a phishing email, a fake website, or a simple request to send money. The core of the scam is always the same: building trust and then abusing that trust for personal gain. Our AI agents, for example, are designed to constantly monitor for these kinds of scams. They look for the subtle clues in a conversation, the weird request, or the unusual timing of an email, and they flag it for you. It's about having a defense that is always looking for the subtle signs of a scam. So, what's the bottom line here? The case of John Burford is a wake-up call for everyone. It is a reminder that in the battle against digital fraud, we cannot afford to be complacent. We must be proactive. We must have a system in place to check for scams and fraud, and to not rely on a fancy title or a cool resume to keep our money safe. We must trust, but we must also verify. The best defense is a healthy dose of skepticism and a good security system. Feeling like your financial security could use a bit more of a funny story and a lot less of a nightmare? Then it's time to get serious about your digital defense. Visit Tileris.com to request a demo of our AI agents in action. See for yourself how we can help you build a stronger, more resilient security posture, so you can focus on your business without the drama. Learned one or two from the case of John Burton? Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and anticipate our next video.